Please subscribe to our videos on YouTube and like this video if you find it useful. This is a review of the Breitling Emergency II. What a crazy watch. This came out a few years ago. It took a while before it was allowed in the United States. There was actually, I think it's an FCC. There was like an exemption that allowed this watch to even be sold. Breitling actually had to go to the U.S. government and ask them, can we sell this watch? And one of the reasons is that there's a lot of regulations around emergency survival devices, and this watch is in fact an emergency survival device. So I have two of the watches here. There's different varieties of them. There's even one with diamonds on it, which is kind of interesting and cool. This is one in black and orange, which is probably going to be a little bit more standard that you'll see out there, slightly more conservative taste. Of course, you know, sporty as well. And here's a version of the Emergency II that has a dark Tahitian mother of pearl dial, which I happen to think is pretty cool. It's not the one with diamonds, but it's a pretty nifty watch. The case is in, it's kind of almost like a gunmetal coated titanium. It basically needs to be titanium because the watch is so big otherwise. You're looking at a 51 millimeter wide watch, 21.6 millimeters thick. It is not small. It pretty much dwarfs the original Emergency. You'll have to read the full review on this watch as well as some of the discussion to really understand what it is that Breitling changed in the Emergency II. But in a nutshell, they added an additional frequency. So the whole point of the Emergency, if you don't know about what this watch does, is it has an antenna that you can pull out, which begins to send out basically an emergency beacon signal, which goes to a frequency that is monitored by various rescue professionals around the world. And the idea was that if you were in an emergency situation, that's why it's called the Emergency, you could activate the watch and emergency personnel would come get you. The problem is that the original frequency didn't have as much, I forget exactly, it didn't have as much coverage around the world. So this one is a dual frequency device. It actually says it there on the dial, the two different frequencies. It would be a 121.5 megahertz and a 406 megahertz. Again, I'm not a communications professional, so I forget all the technicalities about which of those frequencies goes farther, but apparently with these two frequencies going, one of them is apparently more modern and utilized by rescue professionals or monitored by rescue professionals. You'll get picked up pretty much anywhere in the world. So what you do is, you see right here, there's this lower crown. What you would do is it says antenna right there. You would unscrew this and literally pull out an antenna, and I think this other side here also comes out, and there'd be an antenna coming from each side, and that is how you would have the antennas going for both of the signals, and that is pretty cool. So the watch, as you can see here, has a charging port, so it comes with this little base. It's not plugged in right now, it'd just be like a little micro USB, and you put it right here, and you charge it. Now, this isn't like a watch you have to charge on a regular basis. On Breitling's website, they claim up to 2 to 3 years of battery life. So what's the point of having a charger? Well, imagine if you're going out on some type of an adventure or a mission or whatever it is that you're going to do where you think you might be in an emergency situation. You're going to want to make sure your watch is fully charged up and ready, because if the watch is dying, then it's not really going to have an ability to send out that signal. Another cool little feature, which it's a little hard to notice, but the little arrow which exists as the 12 o'clock indicator is actually a little light, and I've seen it blink red when the battery is close to dying, which I think is pretty cool. This is a quartz watch. It's not a mechanical one, and it's a movement that I think it's the Breitling Caliber 76. And the way it works is it has these two negative LCD screens, and you use the crown to cycle through various different types of functions. So it's not incredibly complicated, but it has 2 time zones. You can turn it off altogether. It has a chronograph, a stopwatch feature. There's chronograph. It has a timer. I'm I'm not even able to see it all. Here's timer, alarms, you know, simple stuff like that. Useful, but you know, most of the appeal is in it being an analog watch. Now, it makes more sense as Quartz, not only because obviously it needs electronics for the antennas, but it's also going to be a lot more reliable and precise. Breitling puts it on their nice rubber strap that has a deployant clasp here that has a micro adjust, which I like. However, I will say that you have to actually physically cut the rubber strap. This one is not cut, and so you can see how it works is you have to cut these pieces off here to get it to size. It's kind of a pain in the ass, but at the same time, you know, if your wrist isn't, you know, within micro adjust size of someone else, pretty much only one person can wear one of these. So Breitling likes these straps, but it prevents you from wearing it over like a flight suit or something like that, or a wetsuit, or whatever other crazy, you know, adventure gear you have, where you might want to wear it over a jacket or over sleeves as opposed to underneath it, because it is, again, a very big watch. Breitling has sold many of the original Emergencies. I don't know if they'll sell as many of the Emergency IIs, frankly, just because it's a lot more expensive a timepiece, but it is cool. I was worried for a long time that it was going to be unwearable, because at 51 millimeters wide, well, just look at it. I have relatively small wrists, so it looks, you know, like the watch is a little bit on the bigger side. On the strap, because it's snug, it is quite comfortable. But again, you can see that it is definitely extending beyond the edge of my wrist. So it would be considered, you know, a big watch. It does weigh just under 144 grams, so it's not the heaviest watch in the world, but there is a lot of timepiece here. And again, I still think this mother of pearl dial is really cool. I mean, not all guys like mother of pearl dials. I do. I'll let you see this one again for a little while because it's a little bit more conservative, like I said. One of the things I liked is on the dial here, Breitling took the 3, 6, and 9 o'clock hour indicators and made them a little bit more matte. On some versions of the aerospace, for example, they're a little shinier, and I don't like the look. So the all matte dial here, in my opinion, looks a lot better. I still think the hands are a little bit on the short side. I'm not a huge fan of them. They're okay, they're legible, but I think that some of the older models had slightly more attractive hands. I get what Breitling was going for here, but I think the hand's going to be a little bit more prominent. Case finishing and design is very nicely done, good quality. You have a rotating navigational bezel here. Fortunately, it's not a dive watch. It's water resistant to 50 meters, which means you can go swimming with it just fine. I would say that this is, you know, for the given what it is as basically an emergency survival tool, it is a very durable timepiece, and it's cool, and it's definitely still unique. I really like that Breitling still makes stuff like this. I think it's cool. Price for the Breitling Emergency II depends on the version, but these are $16,475, and you can see the full review on aBlogtoWatch. Thanks.